All right, welcome back to the To Be Better podcast. We are the Chris's. We do question and answers, emails, and sometimes we simply talk shit. But first, a disclaimer.
We are not professionals.
No.
Everything that we speak on is opinions derived from experiences and outside knowledge we've gotten from other resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you get any value or something we said resonates with you, share this.
Yes, that's how we grow.
And if you're not subscribed, why not?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss out on this whole experience. That's the Chris's.
That is the Chris's.
Please leave a comment. Your comments are actually super dope to read. Knowing how that we've impacted you or your relationship, it just helps us continue to do what we're doing, and it shows that what we say works sometimes. And to submit a question or just to email us and say how we've helped or maybe constructive criticism, email us at tobebetterco@gmail.com.
The number 2.
The number 2. Emails will be read anonymously on this podcast, unless specified otherwise by the sender. So if you don't want us to put your story out there, tell us that.
Correct.
If you're going to send emails, please be as detailed as possible. If you give us a one-sided email about how your partner is the problem, that is all we will address.
Yeah, you will get a one-sided reply.
Yes. Nobody is perfect. Take accountability. Everybody can grow.
Whew, preach.
And we are giving unbiased, honest opinions. We are not yes men. So if you submit something to us, be prepared for an answer that you might not like getting. But we are going to give you a very honest, outside perspective.
Is that the full disclaimer?
Yeah.
Now to the episode. That disclaimer button is super nice, right? Now that we filmed that, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We can just jump right into these every single time. I don't ever have to do the whole welcome back.
Love that for you.
Neato, guys. All right. Doing another email question and answer. We've had a really good day today.
We have. I'm sitting here thinking about that fat gator.
Even though we had a really shitty email that we just had to read.
Right.
And I know that this one's got bad content to it as well.
Right.
I'm not bothered about it like I was yesterday when we tried to do this.
I think it's because we were prepared for it this time.
I think it's because we actually got out of the house and did something this morning.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm bragging. All right. I found you on TikTok, of course. For those of you who don't follow us on TikTok, I am Odin's Ink. She is inked_goddess13.
Mm-hmm.
I hate TikTok.
Oh my God, me too.
And yet we make TikToks. We are addicted to that stupid
I actually
shit.
haven't made a TikTok in like a week, and
Yeah.
I feel really great mentally right now.
Well, you made one on Christmas Day just saying Merry Christmas to everyone, but you haven't actually like engaged with anyone in a while. And you probably should because
Yeah, I should.
your follower count is slowing down.
Not really. I've still gone up. I've gone up in like 500 followers in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy to think that between the two of us, we have almost 300,000 people that
it's
follow
pretty
us.
insane. I think January 1st, I'm going to start being like consistent with videos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to want to continue to grow the whole coaching business, you're going to definitely want to
I have to do things.
stay on top of it. Yeah. I mean, business isn't going to run itself. All right. Found you two on TikTok. And of course, then your beautiful partner. I hope this gives enough context to maybe get some feedback that might make a difference for me. I was married for the first time to get away from my mother. Trigger warning. There's going to be conversations here that involve people being molested. If you can't handle those conversations, shut this off because that's literally the next sentence. Mm-hmm. I was married the first time to get away from my mother. And then in parentheses she wrote, was molested and raped by my stepfather for 10 years until I was lucky enough for him to die from cancer. He also raped 2 of my aunts, and my mother was complicit in these because she did nothing to stop it.
Oh, I just had a very strong opinion, and I cannot say that on YouTube.
Dead pedophiles don't reoffend.
Neither do people who are complacent. What's the word for that? Accomplices?
They're guilty.
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
word is guilty.
So just like that pedophile's put down.
All right, I'm going to start over because I don't want to. I'm going to start over on this.
Okay.
Because I don't want to say dead pedophiles don't reoffend on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so that intro that I can put at the beginning of this every single time now is super dope. I don't ever have to repeat any of that. I can just go, right? All right, so we're doing emails. Before we get into this, there is talk in this email about molesting. Mm-hmm. If you have problems hearing conversations like that, this is definitely an over 18 conversation. If you are easily triggered, you don't want to listen to this email. Found you on TikTok, of course, then your beautiful partner. I hope this gives enough context to maybe get some feedback that might make a difference for me. So for those of you who don't follow us on TikTok, I am Odin's Ink. She is inked_goddess13. follow us on TikTok. I mean, I'm assuming that most of you are coming here from TikTok, but in the event that you're not and you have a TikTok, give us a follow. A lot of the content that we do here, we do there as well, except for we're able to start
in-depth discussions and shit.
Yeah. Also, we are working on getting capture cards for the computers and changing this entire scenario so that we can start doing actual reaction videos to things that people tag us on TikTok. I am super excited about that.
I am actually really excited about that too.
Okay. I was married the first time to get away from my mother, was molested and raped by my stepfather for 10 years until I was lucky enough for him to die from cancer. He also raped 2 of my aunts, and my mother was complicit in these because she did nothing to stop it. We had 3 children together, and I divorced him after him repeatedly cheating on me. That's actually how that's worded. Guys, please proofread your emails.
Yes.
Because we don't read these before we get them. We get big, long, in-depth emails, and we're like, okay, we're going to read these on the podcast. Like, it's too much.
We get them frequently too.
Daily.
Yeah.
We've gotten 3 of them this morning. Not calling you out on that, just stating that if these are errors, I promise I can read. I went back to school and took care of my kids to the best of my abilities. I remarried. He adopted my kids, and we had another one together. As the kids got older and started to have opinions, he withdrew from them almost completely. In a 6-month span, he talked or texted them for a total of less than 38 minutes. He does work away from home, but was home for a week or so every 3 months. He has had no contact with them now, 27, 25, 21, but calls the youngest his by blood, another issue entirely. Every day promptly at 6:30, my son says he has an alarm set so he does not forget. I mean, that's kind of nice that he's willing to do that. That was his rest time. No chores at all. I was solely... Oh, wait, I just missed an entire list there. When I tried to be submissive to him, nothing worked. From the smallest thing to the largest, when he was home, that was his rest time, no chores at all. I was solely responsible for house, yard, kids, and worked a full-time job. I also started 3 businesses in the last 5 years of our marriage that he referred to as my little hobbies. I finally gave an ultimatum, and he refused counseling, reading books, anything. Also, the last 3 years, we had an almost non-existent intimate relationship due to his extreme weight gain and testosterone issues. My repeated attempts to fix this were nagging and controlling. I finally left and moved an hour away. Good for you. Men, if you have any issues with your hormones or low testosterone, summitrejuvenationscenters.com. My buddy Scott owns the business. He knows his shit. He can get you set up with blood work. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't make anything or get anything from Scott for saying this. I just believe in his business and what he's doing. And because I understand hormones and he knows his shit, I am comfortable saying that business.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Fast forward a year after the divorce. Also, ladies, that can apply to you too. If you think you're going through the change or you're having hot flashes, whatever the case may be, get your blood work done. You will learn a lot about what's going on in your body when you have a professional read your blood panels. Your hormones getting fucked up can change your entire life. I preach that to almost everyone because of how much it's helped me. Okay. Fast forward to a year after the divorce, I started dating. Never was anyone brought to my house because I still have a young man to raise. The first one turned out to be an abusive alcoholic who blamed me for his inability to perform due to the alcohol. The second proposed very quickly and also blocked me quicker when I sent him a prenup. Sorry, that's not funny. It's funny to me. It is funny to me. I had a few scattered dates in between and made a lot of friends. Good. That's good. I do have to be careful because apparently dating someone who owns the business I do entitles them to free work. I own a tattoo shop. Yeah. Okay. Well, that explains a lot and also explains the prenup. And I mean, if you have 3 other little hobby businesses, as they put it, and you own a tattoo studio, like financially, a prenuptial agreement is necessary for you.
Right.
And I'm intimate with that business. I know it in and out, obviously. Last November, I met my guy. It was instant after one date. We deleted the dating app and have been exclusive since. We seem to have the same values in my entire life. I have never felt safe with a man. He made me feel safe. There was courting that counted. There was all the courting that counted. Flowers, notes. He quickly learned my shoe size even. We have an obsession with Vans. And after my big kids met him and they liked him 5 months in, I let my youngest meet him. Instant connection. He had been married once and it ended pretty quickly. With her having a drug problem, I know this to be true because her daughter and I are now friends. I have a type, and it's big bearded tattoo men, and he is all three. Big bearded tattoo guys is where it's at, people. I'm just saying.
I very obviously agree with that statement.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially because you made me grow my beard back.
It's nice.
It's itchy. It itches. Here are the issues. He changed his job, a huge pay cut, but Step needed to secure a very high-paying job in the next year or two. My bills are paid, and that's not going to change. Obviously, you own a tattoo shop. And about 2 months later, he moved in with me. He had a studio apartment, and I have 2 large dogs and a son. It was only feasible this way. We had a grown-up talk. Oh, is there any other way to have a talk? We had a grown-up talk.
I mean, yeah. A lot of child out there.
Yeah, I guess. I just think that's funny that it was worded that way. Before he moved in, that he would contribute X amount to the household bills, not even half, but what I felt was his part and fair. He agreed happily. It was $650, and he has put in $250 in 3 months with no explanation. I'm willing to bet he was paying more than $650 a month just for the studio apartment. So there should have been no issue with him maintaining that lifestyle, even if he took a job at less pay to level up later. And sometimes those kind of sacrifices are necessary. I would be willing, if I had to start all over again, I would get rid of everything, and I would live in my car if I had to get back to where I am right now. And it would take time to do it, but I'm willing to make those sacrifices. So sometimes those sacrifices are necessary. The issue that I have with that is that with no explanation. If he's not willing to talk to you about what's going on, he's not your partner.
Right.
If he's making decisions and hiding finances and not holding up his end of things, he's showing you he can't be trusted. There's a whole lot of conversations that need to be had based off of this so far. I buy all the groceries, going from me and an 11-year-old to adding a full-grown man is quite the jump. Yeah, especially with inflation. And we rarely eat out together. Now that he has moved in, I know that he took the pay cut, and at the risk of anything that would emasculate him, I have been more than accommodating. I do feel that if you can buy cigarettes and Red Bull and a $200 battery for your Harley, then you can pay your bills, your household bills. I would be fine paying it all if he would just be honest about the money. His mother gave him 6 $100 bills on Sunday, and I have not yet seen a penny. There's a whole lot of issues that play into relationships when finances are involved. I'm going to set that down for a minute. We can talk about the money thing because this is kind of important. When you have... Let's forget about the fact that she's got businesses and she's doing okay financially and can support him. When you have your money go from very okay to not okay, that alone is enough to make stresses so much that things that would otherwise not bother you is all of a sudden a problem.
Right.
The fact that he's acting as your partner and you guys are living together and you're supposed to be working together as a team and he's not contributing financially is a conversation that needs to be had. It's not a matter of emasculating him. A man's job is to protect, provide, and lead. And if he cannot provide, then he needs to be at least contributing. If he's not contributing, you're a mommy.
Yep.
Okay. And he has a mommy because his mom is giving him money. I couldn't imagine. Anyways.
How old is he?
It doesn't.
They're in their 40s.
I don't know.
I think if I'm
Is this one of the
correctly.
emails that we tried to get through last night?
Yes.
Yeah. I believe that she's 44. It says it there. I guess I haven't gotten to the point where they talk about their age yet. And if I did, I don't remember it.
Okay.
We have not had sex since January. Wait a minute. Didn't she say earlier that they've only been together since November?
Right. So they've been together for a year. Got together last November.
And haven't had sex since January.
So they only were intimate for 2 months.
There's a pattern here of people not sleeping with her.
What do you mean?
The first marriage ended because he was extremely overweight and had low testosterone. Their sex life was almost non-existent.
That one guy due to the alcohol.
Then there was the guy who was an alcoholic and blamed her. And then obviously the second guy was the prenup thing. And now she's been with this guy and they're not having sex since January. So there's a pattern there. Most common denominator is you in this scenario, which means there could be things going on.
Right.
And I'm not calling you out and saying that it's your fault. I'm just saying that because you know your life and I only know this email, you should probably look into try to figure out like, is
Why
there
is
an
that a pattern?
underlying? Yeah, right. Not having sex since January and it's fucking December now is a problem.
That's almost a year.
It is. There are times that he provides a service. She put that in quotations. For the love of God, tell me that he doesn't actually word it that way. But I can count those times. Oh, God, please tell me that he doesn't word it that way. How that is the most unromantic, unintimate, oh, well, you know, if you need it, I can take care of you if you want. Like, that doesn't...
I would never ask you for anything again to be intimate.
This is the paragraph that has his age. Anyways, there's times that he provides a service, but I can count on those times on both hands. I have had a talk with him in March, and I asked him if it was something I did or said, and he got extremely defensive and later apologized and said I had emasculated him, but that he was going to make a doctor appointment and get it under control. That did not happen. So, in the event that he just can't get it up, there are websites that you can buy Cialis from legally. They will prescribe it from you. Hims.com is one of them. They do like men's hair loss, and you can buy Cialis and Viagra. It's legal. It's mailed to you. It's like, I don't know. It's not cheap. But for men who don't want to go to a doctor and be like, hey, my dingling doesn't stand on its own. Drill sergeant doesn't stand at attention. Like, you can do it all online. You know, nobody will ever see you. You'll never know what you look like. You can keep your insecurities to yourself. Or you can go to Summit Rejuvenation Centers and have your blood work checked, because in the event that you have low testosterone and your drill sergeant won't stand up, you get on a little bit of testosterone, that motherfucker's ready to go to war. Like, he is 45 and I'm 44. We have the same birthday as well. I have tried to talk to him in a way that made it all my fault, even though I know it wasn't. And I promised myself and my therapist I would never again beg a man to love me. I won't. There's twice in this email she said emasculating him, which means he's got a whole lot of insecurity about not being a man, but he's not doing things to prove that he is one. All right. I have an 11-year-old, and for 3 years, I never brought a man into my home, not even when he wasn't here. His dad got remarried quickly to a woman my son did not know, and did not know anything about the wedding until he was taken to it. How does that even happen? How do you... Okay. I feel like I'm gossiping again. I really do. All right. He will, he remarried. Oh, wait, I said that already. He will never forgive his dad for that. I want so much to raise my son to be a gentleman and a good man, in capital letters, good man. You should watch the gentleman episode that we posted. There's a whole lot there. Oh, speaking of which, off topic, somebody on TikTok said that they asked her old man to watch that, and he got violent about it. Started breaking shit. And
what the fuck?
Because it triggered him. Yeah. Blows my mind. Because the entire point of that entire 40-minute conversation is about being a better person. And if those things trigger you and the things that I'm saying in that makes you realize that you are lacking, the last thing you should do is get violent. You should take accountability and be like, all right, I am lacking in these areas. I could probably be a better person if I implemented 2 or 3 of these things. Yep.
I am flabbergasted.
Blows my mind. For whatever reason, this man is now in our lives, and he has changed from night to day since moving in. He does 0 chores, 0 cooking, 0 yard work, comes into dinner ready, and his clothes are clean, house is clean, a willing partner. I work a full-time job during the day at the tattoo shop 4 days a week. Why are you working a full-time job if you own a tattoo shop? There's a lot of money in the tattoo industry. A lot, especially if you know how to run a business. There is a lot of money. You do not need to work a full-time job and run a tattoo studio. If you're doing it properly, you don't need to work at all. If you've got people that are working for you, you can make enough money just off of your percentages. My oldest son is an artist there as well. I picked up a kid to babysit after school for extra money. What?
Yeah, I'm confused.
I picked up a kid to babysit after school for extra money. That doesn't... I don't... I would like to have an off-air conversation or an email back and forth with this lady about her business, because I'm willing to put money on the fact that I can make this so that you don't need to do all this extra shit.
Right.
I have an intimate knowledge of the tattoo industry, and your tattoo business by itself should pay for everything.
She should email again.
I am exhausted, and I need the words to tell this man I would move mountains for him while explaining that I feel he wouldn't get out of the chair for me. How do I do this without emasculating him? That's the 3rd time she's used that term. I am 44, not 94. I deserve someone who makes me feel desirable and loved. Okay, so you know what you want. You just got to figure out a way to talk to him about it. And you know what? You are going to have hard conversations with people that you love. And if you love him, assuming you love him, you said you're willing to move mountains for him. That's a love thing. That's not just a lust thing. You need to lay everything out to him in a way that he's going to understand it. And you need to see that he's willing to match you. If he's not willing to do the work and he's not going to go to the doctor and you're not going to get anything more than a service provided, as she put it, it blows my mind. It doesn't matter. You can be the best person in the world for your partner. If your partner is not willing to reciprocate that, it's not worth staying. Like you're not going to ever change somebody. They have to want to be that change. We work the way that we work because when you do good, it makes me want to do better. When I do better, you step up. Like we are constantly elevating ourselves. We have conversations in the car about how the house is going, what can we do to be better? Like these conversations happen almost daily for us. Because we're trying to continue to grow and level and be more than we were yesterday.
Before you touch the next point, I wanted to bring up, so in the car on the way to where we went for our photos this morning, I initiated a conversation of how am I doing? Like from your perspective, do you feel like the work that I'm doing on the inside is showing on the outside? Like, do you see the work I'm putting in?
Right.
And you said yes. That is like a regular occurrence for us.
Well, so so that people know, I'm not going to get into the details of the conversation because it was just a personal conversation.
Right.
But because of the way that you're using my communication tactics with me now, you are talking to me in a way that I'm going to understand differently than what you were doing 3 months ago, 4 months ago. That is how I recognize that you are working to change and the way that you are phrasing things now. Because we've been doing so much work on communication, it's very obvious.
Okay.
Because we don't have, it's the Dave Chappelle thing. Dave, we got to talk. Fuck. I know we got to do something that I got to do. That doesn't happen at all anymore. And it did. When you first moved in here and we had conversations, you'd be like, I need to talk to you. Like, oh, here we go. And you'd be like, what? And you'd be like, nothing. Go ahead. You know, that would immediately set the tone to be where it was going. That doesn't happen at all anymore. And I catch you saying things and I catch the way that you're wording them to be intentional. And because I know that you're being intentional with it, I know that you've put thought into what you're about to say to me. It changes the entire dynamic of what we're talking about.
Right.
That shit goes a long way. And I'm aware because I pay attention. And I'm not saying that everyone is going to see those things. And like, it may be very gradual changes before people realize that somebody's changed. And it could take their partner being like, hey, have you noticed that I've been doing anything?
Yeah.
But to just give that, hey, I noticed it, goes a long way in making people want to continue to be better. I'm actually really glad that you did that to me this morning.
Yeah.
I am, because it gave me an opportunity when I wasn't thinking about it to give you a positive affirmation. Like, baby, you've been killing it. Like, we're dope right now. Like, things are amazing. I don't know. We had a really good morning this morning.
We did.
Do you want to go on with that before I move into this?
No, you can
Okay.
continue.
For the record, I have been in therapy with the same therapist for almost 2 decades. Wow. I worked so hard to find myself after my childhood and learn to enjoy sex, and that it isn't a power to hold over someone, nor a weapon. Being made to feel like that need as a job for someone is mentally disarming for me. I have expressed to him that his inability to try to change his lack of intimacy is weighing on me, to a point that is backing me into a depression. I have not left in years, or I have not felt in years. I don't know why that read that way in my brain. I know I should listen to my head and not my heart in this one. My fruitless apologies for the length. I need a perspective from someone who lives a lifestyle that I so yearn to have. Thank you for reading this far. Okay, so in the event that you actually want to have the lifestyle that we have, that conversation needs to be had during the courting phase, not when they move in. It can be had. There's people who've actually sent us emails asking, like, hey, we've been married for 10 years and I want the traditional values now. How do we have that discussion? And we can help with that. Like, that's something that can be had. But you have to make sure that your partner is capable of being those things. I believe that you cannot have a traditional value marriage or traditional value relationship if there is not 100% transparency and trust. Without that, nothing else is going to work out. You can't properly lead. They're going to question everything that you say. The the finances have to be completely open. There's a lot that plays into all of that. If you really want this and you don't trust him and he's not willing to start making the changes, then you're not going to get it with him. It's just not going to happen. I understand your concern with your tattoo industry and the free work thing and all of that. As a woman in the tattoo industry, you could have any guy that comes to that door because of those two things. You're a woman in the tattoo world, which makes you a rock star to most men. They want free shit and you are going to get used.
Right.
We see it. We have friends that are in the industry. Like, I'm very intimate with the industry. I know a lot about it. I've witnessed it my entire life. You are going to get people that want to manipulate because tattoos are expensive and they think that if they're getting good with you, you're going to get free shit. Doesn't work that way. In the event that you are living with somebody and you guys are together, free tattoos happen, sure. But if you're just courting, I'd make them pay for that shit.
Oh, yeah.
The conversations that need to be had here, in my opinion, first and foremost, needs to be about the money. That conversation needs to happen above everything else. And then the second conversation needs to be about him getting either on some sort of Cialis or Viagra to make sure his dingling is standing up and making sure that if he doesn't do that, that he gets blood work done. I know that not all intimacy is sexual. You have emotional intimacy, you have spiritual, you have all of these things. I actually I believe there's 6 or 7 different types of intimacies, the way that it's listed. And those 3 are the ones that stand out the most to me because those are the ones that are most important to me. Not having sexual play is a problem in its own. And that's a discussion that I've had a lot on YouTube and TikTok. I feel like if you are married, it is your duty to perform. And people have told me that that's lacking consent and all this fucking nonsense, but you have a duty to your partner.
Right. If you're in a monogamous relationship, the one thing they cannot get outside of you is intimacy.
Right.
Of any
all
sort.
intimacy, right.
Right. If you are going to deny your partner that, you either open your relationship and let them seek that elsewhere, or you leave that person.
Yeah. I mean, that's the final straws aspects of it.
Right. Like,
but there needs to be conversations happening. Right. And so if, and this devil's advocate, because I enjoy doing this, so I'm going to do devil's advocate. In the event that you were not putting out, right, and like a week goes by,
right,
I know something's wrong. You're not feeling good. Do we need to take you to the hospital? Like, are you physically okay? That's my first. I need to know. Are you dying inside?
Right.
What's happening? In the event that you're like, I'm fine. Okay, now I know there's a problem. Whether it's an emotional problem, I'm failing as your husband, something's happening. And I know something's happening because a week is a long time for us to not play. I know there's a problem. So now my first reaction is, all right, babe, what's going on? How am I failing? What is happening here that's making you not want? Did I get fat? Do I have a cavity that I don't know about? Is my breath stinking? You don't want me to get close to you? Do I have a new body odor? Like, is there something that I've done to make myself not attractive to you? Are you overexhausted? Are you overworked? What is going on that's making you feel the way that you feel? We're going to have this discussion. And it may not be an easy discussion. You may say some really hurtful shit to me, and I'm okay with that because I need to fix the problem.
Right.
Because I want to go back to having a normal life. In the event that a month has gone by, we still haven't resolved things. At that point, for me, that's where arrangements have to be made.
Right.
And to be clear, an arrangement doesn't always mean sex outside of a relationship. It could mean sex on Tuesdays and Sundays. It could be a scheduled day or a certain amount of times of sex expectations.
Right.
If we have 3 minimum sexes a week and we just take turns initiating it, those initiations don't have to be at nighttime. It could be during the day. I could send you, or you could send me a picture, or I could send you a picture, or I could send you a dirty text message, or I could grab you in the kitchen or whatever. However, we need to start initiating that intimacy. I've also been told that if you put out to your partner when you don't feel like putting out to your partner, that it's lacking consent, which is bullshit because if you can get each other worked up and you decide that you want to have sex, that's the consent. I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to just lay there while my husband screws me because that's not enjoyable to me. Nobody's saying that you have to do that.
Right.
It's saying you need to figure out what's going on to try to fix the problem so that you are doing your wifely duties or husbandly duties to your woman, because if you're not putting out on either side, that's a problem.
It is.
In the event that emotional intimacy or physical intimacy, non-physical, like, non-sexual intimacy is not being had, that's a problem. People want to feel wanted. Even in the initiating aspect, like, I'm a dominant man. I love it when you initiate sex. You telling me that you think that I'm attractive or grabbing me or groping me or kissing me or whatever the case may be is enough to get me going. Like,
Right.
I want to be wanted. Everyone does. Nobody wants to be forgotten about. Those are conscious efforts. If you start to feel like the intimacy is waning and you're missing something, try to fix it first. And if it doesn't just naturally resolve itself, have the conversation. And if the conversation isn't had, maybe there's a medical problem. Maybe there's a stink problem. Maybe I really need to brush my teeth. There could be a whole lot of other things going on. Maybe I've gained weight. I don't know. I mean, I would know. I obsess over my weight. I weigh myself every single day. I truly obsess over my weight because I've been over 300 pounds. I won't ever do that again.
Right.
Maybe it's that you're tired of seeing me wear the same sweatpants every single day. Maybe I'm depressed and just haven't showered and you've noticed it. Like, there can be so many things that play into that. Now, in the medical aspect of things, the low testosterone for him, or the fact that his drill sergeant doesn't stand at attention, there are things that fix that.
Right.
And it's very easy to get it. Just do your blood work. If the blood work comes back as low testosterone, you get a shot every week. Not a big deal. At 26 years old, our testosterone plateaus, and then it starts to decrease. Not all lack of sex comes from lack of hormones. It could be a lack of emotional attachment.
Right.
It could be that you're no longer looking at your partner as a sexy thing. Why? At what point did that go from being the woman that you're fawning over and like looking forward to laying down with to being like, meh, I'm going to just go to bed tonight? Something's happened.
Right.
Are you just so complacent? Are you getting it somewhere else? Do you not view your partner that way anymore? Are you afraid of something happening in the bedroom? Are you afraid of something not happening in the bedroom? Is there kinks that are not involved that you need? Like, you guys really need to have that conversation. That's a lot that plays into a relationship, especially one that's only a year old. You
Right.
should still be in the honeymoon phase. You shouldn't be in the roommate phase. That's not a thing in a year. It shouldn't be.
Something I want to touch on is she said that he left a job for an opportunity that's not going to be better for the next year or two. So he took a massive pay cut.
Right.
His finances are all fucked up. Now he's living with a woman who's paying for everything. Like, is this man depressed? Is he not wanting to put forward an effort because he feels like a failure as a man?
It's possible.
I would have that discussion too.
You know, depression, but she didn't say that happened in January. So like,
Right.
if he did quit his job in January to get a lower paying job and he does feel like less like a man, that's a problem.
Well, she kept saying emasculated.
Right.
So
She
he's
said it
very
3 times.
clearly, he doesn't feel like a man.
Right. Which means he's probably said that. For that word to be used 3 times in an email like that, it's very specific.
Right.
And so he's probably said that to her. Yeah, I don't know. I would think that, and this is pure assumption, knowing the kind of, so she has 3 businesses, one of them being a tattoo shop, and she babysits. Financially, I'm willing to bet that she's comfortable. I don't think that she probably even babysits for the extra money to really need it. But now that she's taking care of another man, it could be a safety window for her, a cushion, right? So maybe they started dating. He realized that there's a financial stability there and that she's able to support him, and he just quit working. It's possible.
It is possible.
You know, I know for a fact that there are women in the tattoo industry that 100% support their men and have stay-at-home dads. And I'm not knocking that. That's fine if you can afford it, and that's the agreement you have as long as everything's being met. If he's not working a full-time job and you are financially supporting him 100% and still cooking and cleaning and doing all the housework, that's a problem.
It is a problem.
You know, and like the fact that he's not doing the lawn work and shit, like that's a problem too. You know, you want a traditional value, traditional marriage. You're not getting that if he's not doing anything.
Right.
You got a little boy and you're playing mommy to him. That's not how that works. It's actually the exact opposite of how that's supposed to work. That's a lot. It's a lot to process. There's a lot. You guys are still new too. Like you're a year in, you're not married. You're not obligated at this point. In reality, you can be like, hey, it's time for you to go get your own place. I don't want you here anymore. Until you're able to provide and follow through with what you say you're going to do, you can't be here. I need you to show me. Like,
yeah.
You know.
And I'm also wondering, so he took that pay cut. 2 months after he met her son, they moved in together.
5.
No, he met the son 5 months
Right.
after they started.
Oh, and then 2 months after that, they
and then
moved
2
in?
months,
Okay.
yeah. So they were together for 7 months. Did he move in with her because he couldn't afford the studio apartment?
I don't know. It wasn't in there.
I feel like that needs to be specified. If it was a joint, like, all right, let's move in together. This is what I'm paying. Dope. I'm going to break my lease. I feel like that's a different scenario of him being lazy versus I'm losing my place. We're dating. Can I move in with you?
Right. Well, and, in a scenario where they are okay, so in that scenario, if he was paying, we'll call it $1,500 a month, because I know that's what a studio apartment costs where we live.
Right.
Because it's stupid expensive to live here. I hate it. I hate Florida.
Me too.
Okay. I like our governor,
Yeah, our governor is pretty dope.
but I hate the state. I hate the landscape. I hate that it's flat. I hate the trees. I hate the heat. I hate everything about the state other than the money that I make here. But let's assume he pays $1,500 a month. Let's call it $1,000 just so that we're not being dumb with the money. Let's say his studio apartment was $1,000 a month. If
That's
he
just rent.
just rent, right? You factor everything else, probably closer to $2,000 for him to support himself on a monthly basis. It's not a lot of money. It's really not. It's barely over minimum wage. In the event that they were like, all right, look, I'm giving this apartment complex $1,000 a month. I could give that money to you and it would just go into our household. We would live better. That's a real logic conversation to have if you're in love and everything is going great. You guys, 7 months, you guys should still be fucking like rabbits, to be honest. Even in your 40s, like that should still be a thing. Everything is new and lustful and romantic, and you're still learning each other's ins and outs and wants and habits. Like it's wild to me. Anyways, that $1,000 a month equates to $12,000 a year that could be saved because you already have your own place where you're already paying rent. And for him to move in and just give you that $1,000, or because you're the breadwinner and obviously you should be the one handling the finances, that's how you set it up here. That's an additional $12,000 a year that's no longer going to rent.
Right.
That could be going into your household. That $12,000 a year could go into 2 individual Roth IRAs, one for you, one for him.
Could go back into the business.
That could go into, it could go into a retirement fund. It could go to mutual funds. You could go into business. You can invest in things. That's $12,000 that you otherwise wouldn't have. And that would benefit both of you. You can put up to $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA anyways. And starting your Roth IRA at 45 years old, if you don't already have one, is not going to make you as much as it would if you started it in your 20s. But that's still a retirement fund in 15 years that you get to take, right? There's a lot here. This is not like a super bad scenario in my opinion. There's a lot of ways that this can be fixed, but the saving grace in all of this is that they're a year in and they're not married.
Right.
So if they have these discussions, this is what I expect of my man moving forward. And if we're gonna live this life and pretend that we're married, you have to meet these expectations. If you're not willing to meet these expectations, go ahead and tell me now, because we're both mid-40s. I don't want to waste any more time. I would like to find somebody that I can live the rest of my life with that's willing to meet these expectations and be a good man for me. If you are not willing or not capable of doing so, please just tell me.
Right.
We can be friends. You can stay here until you find a place on your own, whatever the case may be. But you also have the ability of, writing down a contract. This is what I want. These are your jobs. Right. Are you willing to do these jobs in the house? No, you're not willing to do these jobs. Well, I'm not willing to do them for you. So how do we move forward? That's a very straightforward question. How do we move forward from here? This is what I expect of you. This is what you expect of me. If you're not willing to meet those, or I'm not willing to meet those, would you stay? Why would you stay? Are you happy? I'm not happy right now. I love you and I would move mountains for you, but I don't feel like you're willing to meet me halfway. These are simple conversations, but they have to be had. And it's not a matter of you emasculating him or making him feel like less of a man. This is you making sure that you're taken care of.
And if he brings up the point that you're emasculating me, that's a him problem.
It's more than that too, though. If he's like, you're emasculating me,
he's trying to deflect.
You could simply say you're doing that to yourself by not providing. You're not protecting. You're not leading.
Yep.
You want to live here and act like this is a thing for you and that we are going to have this lifestyle. You are not living like a man. You are borrowing or getting money from your mom to take care of yourself. That's not a man's thing. I understand that you took a lower paying job so that you have the potential in a couple of years to have a higher paying job. That happens sometime, but why don't you get a secondary job to make up for that loss of income? Why don't you go work in one of my businesses and I'll pay you to do that job? And that's money that I wouldn't have to pay somebody else. There's a whole lot of scenarios that could be played out. It just has to be talked about. I don't really have anything other than that. I really think that you guys need to just sit down and have these conversations, regardless of how rough they might come across. Work on saying things like "I feel" instead of "you do" or things like that. Listen to the check-in podcast that we posted. It's episode 3 or the standalone. The standalone is 51 minutes, but it gives you a whole lot of communication points. It's going to help you be able to have these conversations, and just see how it plays out. You're not obligated at this point. You guys are just dating. A year in, that's nothing.
Right.
A year is nothing. Like, that's a courting phase as far as I'm concerned. But also at 45 years old, you don't want to waste the next 10 years trying to figure this shit out, because when you're 55 years, it's going to be a whole lot harder to fucking date than it is at 45 years old. You got anything else? No?
No.